We just had a little bit of a quick surge of a little power outage right here at CKON, and we want to make sure that everybody is okay out there, all right?
All's well over here at the Montour residence, where storm prep's been in full force inside the house.
We've cleaned our kitchen, washed our dishes in preparation for the storm. We've also are doing our laundry so that we have clean clothes. Make sure that lasts a couple days.
And outside it.
In preparation of the storm, we have to keep this area clean because we have access to the generator, and we also have access to the propane tank back here so that when they come to deliver, they have access.
It's an interesting situation out here on Akwesasne's border road. A tale of two power grids, American on one side and Canadian on the other, though both sides are technically Akwesasne lands.
These poles on the southern side of the road service southern Akwesasne and its national grid poles. The poles over here that service my home are Quebec Hydro poles, and they service the northern side of Akwesasne on this part of the territory.
Akwesasne Mohawk territory is one of unique circumstance. It's spread out over parts of New York State, Ontario, and Quebec, each section powered by different electrical companies, complicating the situation in the event of outages.
There are parts of our community where the power's out one side of the road up to 24 hours, and across the road, it's on, no problem at all.
Akwesasne Grand Chief Abram Benedict says outages in the Quebec or north portion of Akwesasne have been a problem for at least 2 decades. However, with the onslaught of extreme weather events in the last month,
what seems to be occurring is that the outages are much more longer.
Barbara Montour received her hydro bill the day of our interview and tracked at least 3 extended outages in one billing cycle alone.
On December 23rd to 24th, we were off 26 hours. And again, on December 30th, we were off 15 hours. And then January 5th to 6th, 44 hours, almost 2 days we were off. And there's no acknowledgement on this bill.
It's more than an inconvenience. With the power goes internet, heating, and landline phone service. Cell service is spotty so close to the border. And while residents like the Montours do their best to prepare, not everyone can afford a costly backup generator.
I think we've grown complacent to the issue. It's a status quo. And it's 2023. We shouldn't be having utility issues like this.
Council has been doing their part to keep the community safe by opening up warming stations during long-term outages. They've also offered subsidies to members for spoiled food. But the longer the outages last, the more dangerous the situation becomes.
Some community members are using propane stoves, right? And stoves are meant, propane stoves and heaters are meant for short periods of time, not long periods of time. But when you're over the 24-hour mark, there's some real, concerns for safety of the community. We have followed up with Quebec Hydro. We have sent a letter, our council have sent a letter to the president and CEO asking for a meeting directly with her office or representatives to talk about these issues.
Hydro Quebec told APTN News they're dealing with outage issues across the board. And though aware of the issues in Akwesasne, repairs and improvements have to happen in steps over the next few months. First, trees need to be trimmed to access the distribution line located in a swamp. Wooden poles need replacing. And when that's done, a Hydro spokesperson says they'll be installing a remote control switch to reduce the duration of certain outages by transferring electricity from one line to another.
If you only knew how proud we are that we are able to be working along you.
The request to meet with Hydro's outgoing president and CEO, Sophie Brochu, before the end of her tenure in April is still up in the air. But council is undeterred.
We're pushing really hard on the long term, right? There needs to be significant investments in infrastructure here to make sure that these outages are not continue to happen, and if they are, they're not as long.
Barbara, for her part, is unconvinced improvements will happen.
I personally do not see Quebec Hydro as part of the solution.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
When you're part of the problem for half a century, you see it as normal. You don't see it as a problem. It's time that we become more proactive and take control of this issue rather than let the issue take control of us.
Hydro Quebec says they'll set boots on the ground in the coming weeks. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Akwesasne, Mohawk Territory.